after you got done doing the interview, after talking to him? Do you ever get a gut feeling or anything?
Yeah, definitely. So as far as this husband and wife duo, so like I had mentioned, the husband is a carpenter by trade. His wife is she's a retired military veteran. Strong Christian faith. They don't drink or do any drugs or anything like that. My gut feeling as an investigator is, these were two. They were two normal people. They were people that you could see anywhere. You could walk past them in the grocery store. They could be your neighbors, and if they were your neighbors, they'd probably be really good ones that you liked a lot and go along with. There's no red flags with them at all to make me believe that there's anything untoward involving their story. And believe me, there have been times in the past where I have talked to people where there were. So I have enough experience where I am fairly confident that, I can usually pick out if, there's something off about somebody's story. So usually, now honestly, hoaxers have not been a big problem for me. That happens very, very rarely. I think a lot of hoaxers these days find it a lot easier to get the kind of thrill they're looking for by just being anonymous on the internet, and they can create their own urban legend on there, and it's fine. And most hoaxers never get around to speaking to investigators because why bother, honestly? That's actually something of a red flag for me, is when somebody will send us a story and then I'll try to follow up with them, and they just will completely ghost us, or they constantly cancel on interviews or something, and whatever. So, but anyway.
What I run across, Tobias, is with people that you have them on the show one time, right? And they're talking about the same subject, and then 3 months, 4 months later, people want to hear them back again, and all of a sudden the story adds more things to it. Then you have them on another time, and it's like embellished, and that's when I start getting a little nervous when it starts growing each time that you talk to them. I expect pretty much maybe a little bit of a change, but not going into big details. And I find that interviewing people, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, definitely. And that has been something that I have experienced. Now, a lot of these witnesses, I'll interview them, and we'll talk on the phone for an hour, an hour and a half, and if I can get out to the sighting area, I definitely do that. Some of these Indiana cases are frankly, they're going to have to wait. Because we're buried under snow right now, so I'll get out there when it's spring and summertime again, and I can actually get out there. But and very rarely do people come back to me with more stories and trying to add on to their original stories. That's happened, maybe once in the past 2 or 3 years, and I'm pretty sure there was mental illness involved there. Luckily I haven't encountered a lot of that. Although I feel like you're probably more likely to see it than I am, because nothing about really what I do gives people who are looking for that kind of attention any kind of platform to get it. Witnesses come to me not because they want to be on the radio or they want to be famous. Witnesses come to me because they have a story that they feel like they can't tell anybody else, and they want somebody to, one, listen to them, and two, with some experience in this kind of stuff, who can help them make sense of it. So I think that helps weed out a lot of the people who might just be looking for attention and things like that.
Well, I think a lot of people too. I mean, if you see something like a creature that you can't identify, it does scare you, and it plays on your mind, because everything you've learned in school, from grade school all the way up to college, right, tells you certain things don't really exist. So, when people see like Mothman or, any of these creatures, even Bigfoot, when they actually see it, I can see what they're going through, and it's so hard to talk it over. You got to hold it in with you, because you know what? A lot of people, if you start saying, well, I saw a Mothman, or I saw this giant bird the size of whatever, people will look at you. And it's really hard, but you want to get it out because you want to make sense of what you've seen. But I just wonder, like you were mentioning, if somehow they're coming back from time, maybe there's a portal, maybe, I don't know what it is. But it's been too many people have seen things out there, including me in my life, that I can't account for what it is. What I seen should never existed, but yet I saw it.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean that's sort of the long and short of it, frankly. And you're absolutely right. I mean, most of these people that I talk to, they're talking to me because, a lot of the time they've already gone to their friends and family and they were laughed at, and they don't want to go through that. Like, it's not worth losing, loved ones over. So they just don't talk about it until they see something like an article of ours online that somebody shares or something, and they go, oh, hey, I saw something similar to that. These people will listen to me. They'll take me seriously. They will even help get my story out, but they'll do it anonymously. So, nobody else makes fun of me. But, yeah, I mean, it's a real issue. People are definitely scared to come forward for that reason. Like when you imagine having an experience in your life that you can't even talk to your own family about, it is so immensely isolating for people that, I mean, one of the most consistent things that happens to me when I'm interviewing witnesses is them expressing this sense of relief and happiness that finally they get to talk about their experience. And that's huge. And, honestly, it's a big reason, if not the main reason, that I do what I do. Because just like yourself, Gary, like, I understand where these people are coming from. I've had weird experiences. My own family, although they're much more open-minded now, they really didn't believe me at the time, and it was very isolating. So it just led me on this path of, when I was a kid, going to the library and finding every book I could by, Brad Steiger and John Keel and Lauren Coleman and all of these guys, and, just trying to find other people who had experienced the stuff that I had. And, thank God that those authors were out there, because that really, really helped me. It means a lot to people to be able to confirm through other people's experiences that, you're not crazy. You know what you saw, you know what happened to you, and you're not alone, So it's nice. And, as far as the idea of, something like portals or interdimensionality or something similar for these sightings, the more I delve into these, the more sense those types of theories make to me. It just explains so much. And I hate to use, I hate to argue things from ignorance, saying like, well, we can't prove that it isn't this, so maybe it's this. But it just explains so much. Like it feels like that could be the missing puzzle piece, because how else do you explain, pterosaurs with 30-plus foot wingspans in, just outside of Gary, Indiana? Like, that can't exist without people knowing about it, unless the story is made up or the witness is seeing things. And, I'm telling you, after talking to these people, I don't think either one of those possibilities is the truth. So at that point, what are we left with? And it's got to be something, weirder than, somehow nobody noticed these giant, prehistoric birds living in this area. Like, that just doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't. And actually, that's what Karen Banks said she saw. So, I mean, those things are huge. So I don't think one of those could really hide anywhere without a lot of people eventually seeing it, flying around. They also got to eat a lot, too. And, the type of things they would want to eat are like cows and cattle and deer and whatever it could get. Humans, if they're out walking around. But that's why I'm wondering if they're going through another dimension, a time, coming through a portal. That's the only way I can, in my mind, think how they could maybe, slip in and slip out.
Sure. I mean, that's sort of where I'm at with it. If you can kind of, try to envision, something that exists in, say, more dimensions than humans, So like us, for instance, we sort of have our three dimensions that we work with. And so if we can kind of imagine how we would, as three-dimensional creatures, interact with, say, like a two-dimensional creature. So if you can picture try to picture some creature that is strictly two-dimensional, they can only perceive things in their two dimensions. And so us being three-dimensional creatures, we would be able to do stuff and pop in and out of their reality in a way that would seem like magic to them, frankly.
Uh-huh.
And so, how difficult then is it to suppose that, there could be creatures or entities or something with, that, say, have 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions, whatever, so they're able to interact with the 3 that we sort of commonly experience. But because they are, they have these extra dimensions to work with, they're just able to do things that seem like magic, like popping in and out at will, just appearing and disappearing, and doing all other manner of craziness. And it's one of those things that I spend a lot of time thinking about, frankly, because these Mothman sightings around Lake Michigan, and I hope that made sense. I hope I wasn't just ranting like a crazy person.
Well, I do want to say one thing. Would you mind if Karen Banks called in right now and told us about her encounter?
No, of course not. That would be great.
Okay, hey Karen, why don't you give us a call at 1-253-203-6681. That's 1-253-203-6681, and I'll get you on with Tobias and me right away. Yeah, I mean, like Mothman and all this stuff. Again, a description of Mothman. How tall are they, or how big are they normally, as reported? And actually, here we got her right now. So hang on here.
Oh, great.
Okay, are you there, Karen?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you got Tobias on the other line. You got me. Why don't you tell us about your encounter?
Yeah, I was about 12 or 13 years old when I saw that thing flying over, and we lived in Connecticut at the time, and it was a very wooded area, lots of ponds, big lake nearby, so there's lots of fish and turtles. You guys were talking about what they would eat. But anyway, this thing was gigantic,